Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today, we're talking about your opinion on players having the same character class as another character. As long as both players are fine with it and they aren't trying to one-up each other, then I couldn't care less. I have had a blast before with multiple of the same class in a group, and even played in an infamous 5-cleric game, and it was a blast. Remember, in a lot of cases, the same class can play completely differently. One of my favorite short campaigns, we said we were all going to make clerics. We all showed up having made light clerics. Are we going on a crusade? I think we're going on a crusade, boys and girls. Oh, we did a crusade, all right. A lot of bad guys got set on fire, and some good guys, but that's okay. They were purified in death. I had 2 warlocks once. They both wanted to go Hexblade, which to me was where I was close to drawing the line. So I just told them that they both wanted Hexblade and see if anyone was open to changing. What we worked out after some discussion was that one of them was perfectly fine with changing to a Fiend Warlock with a fighter dip, since she mostly just wanted to play a melee warlock anyway, and Fiend still fit her concept well. I'd be mostly concerned about having the players feel redundant or not unique, especially since the more linear the class or archetype, the more it could feel like one was just strictly weaker. Yes, managed to convince half the party to be clerics one campaign. This seems to be a trend, which much fun was had. Among many was a moment where we were supposed to be covertly checking out a suspect's room for evidence. Instead of being bothered by locked doors or drawers, we just smashed and broke everything. Well, the DM reminds us that we were supposed to be covert, and as one, all of us clerics look at each other and begin chanting, "Mending!" The DM's sigh of acceptance cracked up the table. I could see a party of 5 thief rogues all trying to see who can steal the most ridiculous thing and still being able to fence it. That would make for a very entertaining roleplay and storytelling. Or a group of 5 life domain clerics are arguing over who gets to heal the person who just got shot in the chest with an arrow, only for the person to die halfway through their squabbling. Ooh, hold on. How about 5 moon druids who just like screwing around, and you end up with 2 velociraptors riding a Quetzalcoatl holding an Allosaurus in each claw like a fully loaded B-52. I prefer not. I'm more willing to change my character if I know another PC chose the same class. Nothing worse than feeling useless because someone else can do the same things, but just happen to roll better. No class is a must, but I prefer a party with more coverage in roleplay and gameplay. Oh, it can be quite a bit of fun. There are some downsides, but with careful planning, they can be minimized. It's not an inherent problem. The thing to keep in mind is the character's concepts. If multiple people are planning to be the sneakiest sneak that ever sneaked, then you should have a conversation with all those players to see how they feel about it. Now, some folk might actually welcome the competition, while others might feel that their unique niche will be diluted. There's no perfect solution. You just want to make sure everyone's going to have fun within the party, whatever shape that takes. It can work quite well. We had an all-rogue party once where everyone had a different subclass. It was one of the most successful campaigns that we had. I have no issue with it. Though, there may need to be a conversation if one or both players feel like the other is stepping on their toes. When there's fewer people at the table, I prefer to go against it. But as long as everyone's happy, then it's not too much of a big deal. Though when a class is highly flexible, like, for example, Fighter, then it can be really neat to see how people build and play their characters differently. No opinion, just how it is sometimes. Like any other party combo, if it's bad, someone dies and switches. If it's good, I turn up the heat. Mostly as a DM, I wouldn't really care. Would feel kind of bad if it caused issues between them with wanting the same loot and all, but it would have been their choice. As a player, I'd never play the same class as someone else except maybe a multi-class into it. And I would definitely feel a bit put off if someone else picked a class after I had made it known I was planning on playing it. Really, only exception would be like a Twilight Cleric and a Light Cleric, or similar yin-yang type thing. I don't want to play the same class as someone else, but I realize that's just my preference, so I achieve it by switching classes if I need to, until I'm playing something nobody else wanted. Same class is okay, same weapons and build, that's a sure problem on the way. I, as a DM, would then prompt them to different paths, to make them stand out as much as possible. Well, I'm fine with it. I care more about character storytelling and role-playing than I do optimization and party composition anyway. Variety is the spice of life, and it's always better to cover more bases than fewer, but it's not the end of the world. Personally, I like to actively avoid playing the same class as another party member, but it's not about party composition power-wise, it's just about having a distinct thematic niche for variety's sake. My main issue is both filling the same niche. If I have two rogues in the party, and both are stealthy crossbow experts, they just overlap and have less time to individually shine. It takes skilled players who are also good at working together to actually make the characters work. However, if one is a swashbuckler and the other is all sneaky-beaky, that's all good. Some classes can do multiple styles better than others and still both fit in the same campaign. Others really can't. I've never seen two paladins, though that feels like the most difficult one to pull off, unless the players really work together and don't mind sharing the spotlight at times. Like everything, the devil is in the details. There's some cool roleplay stuff you can do by having the same classes. Stacked fighters to represent soldiers in a unit. Stacked rogues for an Ocean's 11 or Thieves Guild. Fun stuff. Generally though, I'll always respec a way to avoid redundancy. I like being a part of a team, and part of being on a team is taking roles. Unless the other player and I are both on the exact same page to diversify our builds, I'd really just rather move to a different class. I try to avoid it, but if they're both aware and cool with it, then who am I to judge? I'm a stark believer of every party member having their individual strengths, but I would hardly deny someone's idea for that ideal. Imagine multiple wizards in a party coordinating their spells that they learn upon each level up, then trading scrolls. They'd be able to get the mandatory spells as well as some more specialized options. Plus, we have some potential here for some fun combos that only work if both spells go off before the enemy has a turn. A pair of rogues, for example, could constantly set each other up for sneak attacks too. Pathfinder, at least first edition, has teamwork feats that only provide benefits if an ally also has the same feat. For example, if someone with the Seize the Moment scores a critical hit on a foe, anyone else with that feat who also threatens the same foe gets to make an OO attack of opportunity. I made a party in the Kingmaker CRPG with 3 or 4 melee characters all with this feat, and all with weapons with wide threat ranges, some of them polearms. It was very entertaining. Granted, you don't have to be the same class to use teamwork feats, but it's easier to pull off with multiple fighters. Also, just a little plug here, use Pathfinder 1st Edition. Kingsmaker was an amazing little module. Nah, it's fine. I honestly don't think 5th edition is hard enough to justify party roles, unless 3 or 4 players are playing squishy wizards. But even if they do, let them. I'm sure whoever is killed off first will roll up with something new to cover their weak spot. It can lead to some very fun RP moments. Like imagine 2 bards breaking out into an impromptu battle of the bands at a tavern, or 2 fighters competing for the most kills, or 2 rogues constantly pickpocketing each other. As long as everyone is having fun, that's all that really matters. It's fine. I've played multiple campaigns that have had duplicate classes, and there was never a problem. There are plenty of ways to make a character feel unique, even if they have the same classes. My players are allowed to have the same class, as long as they pick different subclasses. Perfectly fine, as long as both players are okay with it. I would suggest that both players have a different subclass, but it's not a problem if it's the same. Classes and subclasses can be played differently in many different ways. Just be prepared to tailor some items to players' playstyles to make it more fun for them. So long as both players are cool with it, why not? Occasionally, depending on the story I want for my PCs, I like to avoid doubling up, usually when a character doesn't know they have magic powers or something of the sort. And as a DM, I always make sure to check with the players to make sure everything's good. I've always wanted to play through a campaign with 4 of the same class. Just imagine the possibilities! A band of 4 bards, each playing a different instrument. An inquisition of 4 paladins smiting and healing every turn. 4 sorcerers, each specializing in a different element. Granted, these would be awful as the individual weakness of each class are not being covered by the rest of the party, but that's okay. Not only is it fine, but oops, all class parties can be extremely fun for one-shots or short campaigns. I have plenty of criticisms of 5th edition, but it's truly designed for any or all party compositions to be effective. The reasons for this are 1, the simplified math, and 2, every class becomes overpowered by specializing. Even when they specialize outside the norm, a fighter can absolutely be the face, and wizard can be frontline better than fighter. It really depends on how they build their characters, what classes, how good they are at role-playing, and how distinct their characters are. 2 artificers of the same race and background and similar conjoined backstory and personality, well, at least they'll play drastically different, so long as they pick different subclasses. A couple of times I've had 2 rogues in the party. None of those players were strong at roleplay. Their backstories were just, I was a criminal. Oh my god, I can fix him. No, you can't. So they picked the standard rogue skills. Different subclasses, but identical playstyles. We had to flip a coin on who would pick the lock. They had to share a spotlight because one of them could drop out, and the party wouldn't be heavily affected by the loss. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA back at it again, checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, what's your opinion on players having the same character class? As a fun little side thing here, I would actually suggest a whole game based around rangers, druids, and rogues. Have 2 of each and play that out. All natural, all wonderful, should be real exciting. Love you all, please be safe, be happy, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.